It's frustrating to face a difficult person. The moment they get upset or stressed, the familiar line comes out. No one ever listens to me. And in that instant, you lose your way. You feel confused. You don't know how to respond. You feel pulled into a battle you cannot win. But pause for a second. Remember, every reaction of theirs is a test. Every complaint, every jab, every long silence is just to see how much control you'll lose. The good news is, you are not powerless. All it takes is a few principles, a few short responses. You can turn the situation around. You can turn chaos into order. You can reclaim your peace and your power. On this journey, you'll learn how to respond when you're insulted, when you're gaslighted, when someone tries to put you down. You'll learn when to stay silent, and you'll understand. Sometimes, the greatest power is not reacting the way they expect. If you've ever felt exhausted by difficult people, comment "enough" to mark that you're ready to take back control. Because the truth is, what drains us isn't the big fights. It's the tiny daggers hidden in everyday words. An annoyed sigh, a cold phrase. "No one listens to me." Sounds familiar? It might be a coworker. It might be a family member, or someone you have to face every single day. And the moment that phrase hits your ears, your heart races. Your head heats up. You think, I have to respond now. I have to defend myself. But that very rush to react is their trap. You lose your calm. You say too much. And you walk away feeling defeated. Here's the truth. You don't need to fight fire with fire. What you need is a mirror, a way to make them reflect on their own words. And that is the first technique. A technique that turns a poisonous complaint into a moment where they step back while you keep control. If you want to know what this technique is, drop the word mirror in the comments. Get ready, because in just a few minutes, you'll have sharp tools to face anyone. Tools that help you stay calm, protect your value, and reclaim your control. From today on, I swear I will not let anyone take away my calm or my power. And now, let's step into the first chapter. Imagine you're sitting in a conversation. Everything is calm, until the other person drops the familiar line, "No one ever listens to me." One sentence is enough to push you into defense. A spiral of thoughts spins in your head. I did listen. Why are they saying I didn't? Is it true I've never listened? You want to justify. You want to counter. You want to prove them wrong. And right then, you fall into the emotional trap. Because when they say no one or never, it isn't an objective truth. It's an emotional exaggeration, an extreme tossed out to make you react. What you need isn't to pour fuel on the fire. What you need is to hand them a mirror. Try responding with calm. No one ever listens to you. Really? Or more slowly, you think I've never listened to you. Hearing their own "no one, never" echoed back, they pause. Deep down, they know the statement isn't accurate, and when you mirror it back, they're forced to see the irrationality in their own words. In that moment, you don't need to yell. You don't need long explanations. You only need a simple question, enough to cool things down. This is the power of the extreme mirror. It turns an attack into a chance to de-escalate. It brings the conversation from chaos back to reason, and most importantly, it helps you keep the initiative. Difficult people often want one thing: attention. They want to feel that someone is truly listening. When you reflect their words with a question, you don't invalidate their feelings. You're showing them, I hear you. I'm here. And that is the medicine they need, not endless arguments. Imagine another situation. A loved one says to you, "You always ignore me." Instead of rushing to argue, "No, it's not always like that," you can respond, "I always ignore you." Really, the extremity in the statement loses weight when mirrored back. They'll adjust. Yeah, not always, but many times. And from there, you open a door to a concrete discussion, instead of drifting into a pointless fight. This is the art. You don't attack. You don't add fire, you simply hold up a mirror so they see themselves. When someone drops an absolute exaggeration, mirror it back with a gentle question. And when you do, you'll notice something strange. They become less harsh, and you keep your calm. That's when you truly control the situation, instead of being swept away by it. If you've ever heard, "No one listens to me," or "never," and found yourself falling into that trap, comment "mirror" below to lock in this technique. Maybe you've been through this. Someone, somehow, throws a direct insult at you. Not a passing comment, but a sharp blow that makes your chest tighten. They might say, "You're worthless," "You're useless," or just a joke that seems harmless, but still humiliates you. In that instant, your instincts scream to react, to explode, to strike back with something sharper, harsher. But the truth is, that's exactly what they want. The person insulting you only craves one thing: your reaction. The reaction is the reward, and if you give it, you've already lost the moment you open your mouth. So what should you do? It's simple. Hold silence. Not the silence of weakness, but the silence of intent. 10 seconds without a word. 10 seconds that force them to feel the discomfort of their own space. When you stay silent, you strip away the reward they crave. You turn the emptiness into a mirror of their rudeness. And when you finally speak, all it takes is one short line. "That comment is beneath my standard." That's it. No argument, no justification, nothing more than a single line. Why does it work so well? Because you've just set a boundary. You've shown, "I don't stoop that low." You're not attacking back, but you're not bowing either. You're standing firm. You're defining the standard of the conversation. Picture a tense meeting. Someone throws out, "Your idea is stupid." The whole room goes quiet, waiting for your reaction. You look straight. You hold silence for a beat. Then you say, "That comment is beneath my standard to respond to." In that moment, you're not only protecting yourself, you're sending a clear signal to everyone in the room. I know my worth. I won't be dragged down to the lowest level. This technique doesn't make you a fighter. It makes you the one in control, the one who owns the game with calm. And remember, silence has never been weakness. In the hands of someone who knows how to use it, silence is the sharpest weapon. Next time you're insulted, don't rush to strike back. Try 10 seconds of silence. Then, let one sentence fall like a blade. "That comment is beneath my standard." You'll see, not only will the other person pull back, but you'll also feel a new strength rising in you. A strength born from calm, from the ability to define your own worth. If you believe silence can be stronger than any reply, comment "silence" below. Have you ever fallen into this situation? A small argument that seems harmless, but then the other person starts retelling the story in a way that benefits them. They say, "That day, you were the one who said this." No, you're remembering wrong. The truth is like this, and before you even realize it, you're trapped in an endless battle over memory. This is gaslighting, a subtle form of manipulation. They make you doubt your own memory. They drag you into a maze where you're forced to play by their rules. So how do you escape? The answer is shorter than you think. You only need 3 words. I remember different. No explanations. No justifications. Why is it so powerful? Because gaslighting feeds on your reaction. The moment you try to prove, to bring evidence, you've already fallen into the trap. But when you say, "I remember different," sum down, men, and then stop, the game ends. Imagine this. Someone insists, "You promised, remember? You said you'd do it." But deep down, you know you never promised. You look straight at them and reply, "No, I remember different." In that moment, they lose their grip, because you've given them no fuel to twist further. You stand firm in your own truth. If they keep pushing, "No, you definitely said it," you can calmly repeat, "I remember different, and I stand by it." No yelling, no proving, just holding your ground. The interesting thing is, when you use this line, you're sending a very clear signal. I'm not playing your game. I won't enter your maze. In many cases, just once saying, I remember different, is enough for them to lower their tone. They realize you're not easy to manipulate. They're forced to adjust or simply drop it because they can't win. Remember, gaslighting cannot survive without your participation. When you refuse to argue about their version of the truth, you take back your power. Next time you're dragged into a never-ending fight about who said what, when, how, stop, smile, and say, maybe, but I remember different. 3 words, like a shield. A shield that protects your truth without a war. And when you master this technique, you'll notice something remarkable. Your heart no longer races to prove yourself. Your mind no longer tires from chasing a false timeline. You stand steady. You stand calm. If you want to lock in this shield, comment, I remember different, below. Have you ever found yourself pulled into arguments that really didn't matter? A small issue, a trivial detail, and suddenly, both of you turn it into a battle. You pick a brand of laundry detergent at the supermarket. The other person frowns. Why did you choose that one? The other brand is better. From one bottle of detergent, the entire shopping trip becomes a tense argument. Or you're at work, busy. Someone walks up and asks, got 5 minutes? We need to discuss this urgently, but you know very well. Their 5 minutes usually means nearly an hour, and if you stop right then, your whole day is ruined. This is how tiny disputes and interruptions drain your energy. Not because the topic is important, but because you get pulled in without first asking one basic question. Do we really need to agree on this? And do we need to agree right now? It's a simple technique, but extremely effective. When you ask it, you force both sides to face reality. Some things don't require agreement. Some things can wait. Picture this. You turn and say, do we really need to reach an agreement on this detergent? That seemingly trivial question makes the other person pause. They realize, no, this isn't worth the time, and the argument ends before it even begins. The same applies at work. When someone demands an urgent discussion, you have every right to respond. Is this something we need to agree on right now? If not, let me schedule a better time. That line is both polite and firm. It shows you know how to protect your time and energy. The key is, you're not refusing to cooperate. You're just setting the pace. You're sending the message, I'm ready to discuss but at the right time. In reflang don weth sor pi free. A smart person is not the one who wins every argument. A smart person is the one who knows which arguments are worth entering. Think back to the last time you wasted hours over something small. If you had asked, do we need to agree? Do we need to agree right now? The outcome would have been different. That is the power of this technique. It not only shields you from meaningless fights, it also gives you control over your time, your peace, and your mental energy. Next time someone tries to drag you into a pointless battle, smile and ask, do we need to agree on this? And if necessary, add, do we need to agree right now? Simple, decisive, but powerful enough to end countless small wars before they even start. If you've ever been pulled into a meaningless argument, comment, not now, to remind yourself to use this technique. Have you ever sat at a dinner, a meeting, or a family gathering, and someone threw out a comment like a needle straight at you? Still single? Put on some weight lately? Heard your job's not going anywhere? They say it as if it's just a joke, but you know it isn't harmless. It makes your face flush, your heart race, your mind scramble for a comeback. What they truly want isn't your answer. They want your reaction. A frown, an argument, an outburst they can feed on. So don't give them that reward. Instead of blowing up, do something unexpected. Ask them to repeat it. Could you say that again? The moment you say this, the game changes. The person who mocked you freezes. The spotlight of the conversation no longer shines on you, it shines on them. Imagine this. Someone squints, smirks and says, "Still can't find anyone?" You don't blush. You don't lash out. You simply ask, calmly, "Can you repeat that for me?" Suddenly, they feel like the foolish one. The first time they said it, they felt in control. But when asked to repeat it, the game isn't fun anymore. If they dare repeat, you reflected back. "You just asked me. Still single? Right?" Now, the entire table sees clearly who's being disrespectful. You don't need to get angry. Your silence and your short question already lower them. And if you want to push further, you can ask, "Did you say that to make me uncomfortable? Or was your intention to insult me?" They'll quickly retreat. "Oh no, I was just joking." But you know the joke is over. The power of this technique lies here. You don't play by their rules. You set new rules. You turn the sharp jab into a mirror, reflecting back on them. This is especially useful with relatives or co-workers who often joke too far. Sometimes, they don't realize their words hurt you, but when you ask them to repeat, they become aware of the impact, and in that moment, they learn your boundary. Think back to the last time someone mocked you. If you had asked, "Can you say that again?" things would have turned out differently. No fight, no harsh words, just one line, but enough to make them understand. You are not anyone's joke. If you agree that a single "say it again" can cut off a mocker's power, comment "say it again" below. Have you ever opened an email or message and instantly felt your heart race? A short line, cold, no greeting, or worse, just a message with 3 question marks. You read it, and immediately your brain screams, "They're disrespecting me. They're angry at me. They're trying to put me down." So you type a long 3-paragraph reply, explaining, defending, even counterattacking. The result? The exchange escalates. The air turns heavy, and you end up exhausted. The truth is, sometimes the problem isn't you, it's the tone. Some people simply don't know how to write emails, or they're just in a rush. But instead of assuming the worst, you can reframe the entire story with just one short question. What do you mean? For example, when you receive a blunt email, "Send report," you can reply, "Do you mean you'd like to receive the report before Friday?" Or when you get a harsh-sounding message, "Redo it," you can respond, "Do you mean rework just the data section or the entire document?" See the difference? You're not defensive. You're not throwing discomfort back. You're simply reframing, turning a harsh command into a clear, actionable request. This does 3 things at once. First, it protects your emotions. Second, it forces the other person to clarify what they want. Third, it creates a space of respectful communication, even when the start wasn't respectful. I remember once a colleague sent me an email with just 3 words, "Don't do that." If I had reacted immediately, that day might have turned into a nightmare. But instead, I replied, "Do you mean you'd like me to adjust the presentation style or stop the project entirely?" The result? He answered, "Just a small adjustment, don't misunderstand." Waldo. I am on Walrading Ray. Main. It is furs. I am on rays. Well. It is not without well. Rain. And selve. And I willed. Main. And I willed. Weld. And weld. Main. And I willed. One short question, but it saved the whole workday. You see, we often exhaust ourselves with assumptions. One exclamation point turns into rage in our mind. One incomplete sentence turns into disrespect. But when you ask, "What do you mean?" you take back control. You lead the other person from vague to clear. If you believe one question can turn tension into normality, comment, "What do you mean?" below. There's a truth few people talk about. Many of the arguments you've been dragged into never required your presence in the first place. Think about it. How many times have you been pulled into a pointless verbal battle? A coworker snaps over something trivial. A family member gets angry over something small. And you, without thinking, react instantly. The result? Your energy is drained. And the problem goes nowhere. Here's the truth. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You have the right to say no. You have the right to protect your peace. And that begins with your breath. When tension rises, your body usually holds its breath. Your shoulders tighten. Your neck stiffens. Your voice gets higher than normal. That's the signal. You're ready to fight, but you don't have to enter that fight. You only need to do one thing. Breathe. Inhale deeply. Hold it for a short beat. Exhale slowly. When you breathe, you reclaim your rhythm. When you lower your shoulders, you release the tension. And when you finally speak, your voice becomes steady and calm. But here's what really matters. Not every provocation deserves a reply. Sometimes, the wisest response is to decline to participate. You can say, "I'll discuss this when we're both ready." Or, "I'm not joining this argument in this way." Simple, polite, but strong enough to set a boundary. Picture yourself in a meeting. A coworker attacks you in front of everyone. All eyes turn to you, waiting for an explosive reaction. But instead of losing control, you breathe slowly. You lower your shoulders. Then you say, "We'll talk about this later, when the tension is gone." In that moment, you've taken back your power. You're not refusing the issue. You're refusing the terms of their game. This is the bigger lesson. The one who controls their breath, the one who lowers their shoulders, the one who knows how to say no, that is the one who truly holds power. Next time someone tries to drag you into a fight, ask yourself, is it worth it? Does it need to happen right now? If the answer is no, breathe. Lower your shoulders and refuse. Your peace is not a gift for others to take. It's something you must protect, with your breath, with your calm, and with your right to say no. If you believe that knowing how to refuse is also a form of power, comment "my peace" below. Have you ever met someone like this? Someone who always tries to drop a shocking line into the conversation, an extreme opinion, a comment meant only to provoke you. You know they don't actually believe what they're saying. They just want to see you react. They throw a spark and then stand back, waiting to see if you'll burst into flames. This is a game: praise and provoke. If you praise them, they're satisfied. If you get angry, they're satisfied too. Praise or rage, it's all a reward. Because what they're after isn't truth, but control over you. So how do you escape the game? The answer? Become a wet blanket. Imagine someone says, "You know, all the projects in this company are pointless." One line enough to start a war. But instead of reacting, you smile and say, "Yeah, I see it a little differently." Or, "I have another approach." That's it. No arguing, no explaining, no fuel for their fire. When you become a wet blanket, their flame goes out. No reaction, no drama. They lose interest. This works in messages too. The provoker often sends bursts, demanding an immediate response. But you don't owe them that urgency. You can wait until the next day to reply. And when you do, just a few words are enough. Noted. Received. Got it. Short. Flat, but incredibly powerful. I remember a friend who loved to drop controversial lines at the bar table. Every time, the whole group got dragged into a debate. Until one day, instead of arguing, I just said, "Yeah, I think differently," and stayed silent. The whole table turned, waiting for the usual drama. But because I didn't join, the game ended instantly. This is the art of extinguishing fire with a wet blanket. You don't have to be a warrior in every battle. Sometimes, calmness is the strongest weapon. And here's something even more important. If someone you love has a habit of being rude to others, servers, cashiers, you shouldn't stay silently complicit. Be the wet blanket. But also, set boundaries. Afterward, say clearly, "If you keep acting like that, I can't go with you anymore." That's not just protecting yourself. That's protecting their own image. Remember, You're not obliged to burst into flames every time someone throws a spark. You can choose to be the wet blanket, calm, extinguishing, and walking away with your peace intact. If you believe calmness can extinguish any provocation, comment wet blanket below. After all these techniques, one truth never changes. Real power doesn't lie in what others say. Power lies in the breath you hold. The difficult people will still be there. They'll still mock, still test, still try to drag you into their spiral. But now you're different. You know how to stay silent when needed. You know how to mirror. You know how to say, I remember different. You know how to refuse. You know how to smother flames. And you know how to reset the pace of the conversation. Every time you keep your breath, every time you avoid the trap of reaction, you don't just protect yourself. You reclaim your peace. You reclaim your dignity. And you reclaim your control. Picture this. From today, you step into every conversation with a silent strength. Others may raise their voices. Others may provoke. But you know clearly, I always have the right to choose my response. And that choice, that restraint, is what creates true power. Power doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to explode. Power only needs one breath, one pause, one smile. Because in the end, you can't control everyone. But you can always control yourself. And when you do, you'll see every argument, every provocation, every noise becomes an opportunity to train your inner power. If you believe real power lies in the breath you hold, comment, "Power is silence" below to lock in this lesson. From today, I swear I will never hand over my control to anyone. My breath is my power. And before we close, here's a message. Don't forget the journey of mastering your emotions and your power doesn't end here. The next video will open a new perspective. Deeper, stronger. Make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. So we'll meet again in the next lesson.